It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, Miss Rusty. What's up, everyone? It is Wednesday, and I only have one show today. So this is, it's weird. It's weird only having one show in a day. So used to having two, maybe three. But yeah, so welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN. Check out other great shows on the network, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is It with Lizzie and Saved by the Ben, and the show is brought to you by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stone Reads Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and Sock'emUp.org. And you guys, leave a message here on the show if you want. I'll play it on air. You can leave a message, or maybe you don't like leaving messages, and you're like,
Messages? We don't leave no stinking messages.
but I do. So leave me messages. And you guys, thank you for being here. Let's get right to it. Let's bring on special guest right here, right now. Right here, right now. We have Dr. Alexandra McDermott. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too shabby today. It's Wednesday. I only have one show today, and so it feels kind of weird. It's not I don't know. I have an afternoon off, and it's odd. It's very odd, and I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm trying to figure that out.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it doesn't happen too often. So I'm just kind of going with it today. But so let's see. So before we got started, we started talking about that. We started talking about hypnosis for a second. You said that you were on a plane ride.
Yes.
And then, so you're on a plane ride. Is this a commercial jet?
It was back in the day. It's interesting. It was a TWA. They don't exist anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. In a few years.
Yeah.
TWA has been around.
Well, don't reveal my age, Rusty. But
Right. It was a late edition TWA.
Thank you.
Event. Yes.
I'm coming up on kind of a big birthday, and it's funny because I was with my cousins recently, and my grandmother used to start to count backwards. And so when she passed, we had no clue how old she was. And I was joking with them, and I said, when does that start happening? When can I start actually counting backwards, Yeah. But yeah, so
what was the number you came up with?
No, so when she passed, she was in her 80s, but we really had no clue that when she died, how old she was, and so she was masterful. So when we celebrated her birthdays, we didn't know. And so she started ticking off the years. And so I joked with them and I said, I'm going to start doing that. But when's the decade that you can start doing that, And so they're like, you can't start now. You got to wait until maybe your 60s or 70s or something like that. So we were just joking about that recently, But when you say TWA, people can sort of, triangulate. But no, so, when I was in my 20s, I actually had a planned meeting with my sisters and my parents to meet them in New York City. We were going to take in a show and things like that. And I remember this like it was yesterday, of course. And we stalled out in midair. I mean, the day was perfect. And I had no fear of flying before then. I went to WashU in St. Louis, and I got a job at May Department Stores Company in their retail buying. And so I was flying from there, and I just, I had a window seat, and our plane went and at that point, the flight attendants didn't say anything. The captain didn't get on and say anything. We literally lost engines. And so then we started doing these incredible S-turns. No one said anything. We had no air conditioning, and we started just going down, right? And so everyone started getting hysterical, right? And back in the day too, there were these phones in front of you, like those really,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to date myself,
But
but
the
those,
phones weren't there. They were there up until pretty recently. I feel like it didn't seem that long
thank
ago.
you, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, does it work? Should I like swipe the card, So I'm like, who do I call first? It's like one of those moments. It's like, and
Right.
so I'm like, I don't know. And so, but we were just plummeting. And so again, no response from anyone. No one got on a PA, nothing. People were hysterical because we were just dropping altitude. And everybody in the back was hysterical. And so finally we landed like with much ado and landed way far out. And because I had a window seat, all I could see was a sea, and they were green fire trucks. Again, it's just plastered in my mind like a Polaroid picture. And stayed on the airplane, no AC, no nothing, for an hour and a half. Again, no one said anything. And finally someone got on and they said brilliantly, for those of you who don't know, we lost engines, but you're going to have to stay on until we figure this out. And then people went ballistic, right? And again, I was in my early 20s at the time, and you couldn't rent a car until you were of age.
25.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and no cell phones back then, right? No cell phones. And we barely had like word processors, And
Right.
so, I had no way of getting in touch with my folks or my sister or anybody. So I was like, I'm never getting on an airplane again. That's it. I'm done. I'm stuck in the middle of the country. It's over, So I ran as fast as I could to the rental car counter. They could see I was a mess. And I'm like, whatever you do, I threw my credit cards at them. I'm like, I'll give you everything I have. Get me a car. It was Indianapolis. And I said, I don't care what you do. Get me into something. I'll overpay, whatever it is. And so they got me into a car, and I was able to stop at a gas station. I got in touch with my mother at the hotel, who was panicked because the only thing they saw on their end was see a flight attendant or see a gate agent. Yeah. So everybody, I mean, the whole story, right? And so they told her on her end what happened, and I was just bananas. And so I made it back to my place in St. Louis, and I'm like, I'm never leaving here. It's over. Forget it. And she was like, it's okay. We got you. And so the only way I would get on a plane again is my Michael Jordan was my favorite at the time, right? Again, I'm dating myself. And so they said, listen, courtside seats, we'll get you on a we'll get you on a plane. We got you, so they flew in and got me on a tiny, Southwest flight, but I cried the whole time. And, it's never been the same. And so I have never tried hypnosis. So when I saw that that's your expertise, I'm like, maybe that's something to do. I don't know,
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty all right. It's a pretty, I mean, it works, and it's, I mean, for something like that, because I've worked with people who've had all kinds of events happen where it leads to not wanting to do something for a long time. And I mean, it does take going back and revisiting that event, but the point of that is that once you revisit it once, anytime after that, it's going to be way less impactful, and it's going to be in the most controlled and relaxed environment that you can experience it on. Whereas it's not going to be someone says, hey, do you want to go, fly to China or something? And then all of this stuff just comes kind of flying back. Even you telling the story, it's making it less, less impactful than it was just even before you just told that. But yeah, I would take you and have you yeah, you bring it back in your mind when you're in this relaxed state, you replay it, and then you just, in a way, replay it over and over in different ways, making it, adding goofy shit to it, which is sounds weird, and it makes a lot more sense when you're hypnotized, but it's like, adding some goofy music, or making it everyone around you look like, um I don't know, something like, everyone around you look like Michael Jordan,
Mhm.
something like that. And it just, you do it until all of a sudden it's not a big deal anymore, which sounds weird until you're in the state, and it's all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense. And yeah, I mean, I've had some. There was, um I worked with someone who was at home by herself, and she ended up choking and almost
Oh,
almost died. And so after that, she wouldn't eat any food that was like more than applesauce unless her husband was home with her.
wow.
Yeah. And got that. And then yeah, after one session, hour and a half, right back to eating steak anytime she wants, or whatever it was. And because I mean, so for me with hypnosis, I was very much under the impression that hypnosis was like a magic show and someone had to be in on it. And I just thought it was all, even when I went in the first time to talk with the guy who ended up teaching me hypnosis, that's what I was telling him. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from the world of entertainment, pro wrestling. Like, I believe, I don't know, believe, or 20% of what I hear,
Mhm.
maybe 25% of what I see of what goes on in the world." And then yeah, then the first time I got hypnotized, I thought, okay, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. This is great. It was one of the best feelings I've ever felt. And then, I mean, and just seeing how well it's worked with something such as the story I was just telling you. Um, and I've worked with a lot of people who've had a bunch of PTSDs, with whether it was some sort of violence or something like that going on. Um, like I don't charge for that. It's the only thing I won't charge for, because I've seen how well it works, and I can take people in an hour and a half and completely change their lives. Um, and so that's even on my website. That's something I'll always not charge for, no matter how much money I lose from that. I won't charge for that one, just because I believe in the how much of a benefit that can do in that short of a time. And with hypnosis in, let's say you're talking with like a psychiatrist or whatever. I'm all for psychiatrist counseling, all that. But after 600 sessions, which is, you can figure out how long that is over amount of time, it is 30 36 or 38% effective in making you feel better about it. Whereas hypnosis, hour and a half, is 96%.
Mhm.
Or no, 93%. I always get the 3 and the 6 mixed up there. 93% after, yeah, an hour and a half. And then you're done. And so yeah, when we're living on adrenaline, and always in that fight or flight mode. When
Mhm.
something like that comes up, you're not able to take in any new ideas, and
Exactly.
also make a lot of decisions that aren't always the best. And yeah, just being able to go through an hour and a half, and then I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've worked with people, too, who wouldn't go on planes, and then, never, and then now skydiving and flying across the Pacific and stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
it's pretty cool. I don't know. I was absolutely horrible in school. I don't know why I went to school. Um, I wish I could have dropped out when I was
Don't say that.
after ninth grade. I wish I would have dropped out of school and got my GED. But
I've
I
had
mean,
a child tell me that too, and he ended up graduating with honors. So
okay, well that's good. Then
yeah.
and so it can be helpful. And so what's he doing now?
It's amazing, he had said that to me in high school. He was going through, some transformations and stuff like that, but through grit and resilience, honestly, just pure grit and resilience, he went to college, found a college that he really connected to, and he's remarkable. He's truly remarkable. He went to college, started in the wrong major, to be honest. And I think,
Don't we all?
yeah, and that's the truth. And nowadays, and I'm in, education, right? And nowadays there
Oh,
are so many things people can do. And there are so many schools and so many opportunities for education, for learning,
yeah.
that there's really, you can just do anything. And so now he graduated with a criminal justice degree, honors, but he's not even doing that. I said, listen, just go get a degree. He's doing incredibly well in sales in the electronics industry. He's married. He has a baby, my first grandbaby.
Oh,
And just
congratulations. I
thank
don't know if
you.
I say congratulations to you.
No,
That's a nice,
I
yeah.
don't know, but
I
I'll
don't know.
take
Like,
it.
well, yeah,
Because
okay.
she's honestly just remarkable, and as a couple, they're remarkable, so really it's amazing to look at where he was and to look at his growth and transformation, and he truly works on himself every single day. But again, and I have a lot of kids, and so just talking to them every day in terms of where they are, where they want to be. You can invent yourself every single day. I do, right?
Yeah,
I'm
me
not
too.
doing what I do today, what I did before, and there's an opportunity, and I may not do in a year what I'm doing today, and I want to do things, I change my mind all the time. I'm opening up my own publishing company with a business colleague. That wasn't what I was going to do a month ago, but I believe in
Right.
the art of storytelling. I think it's critical. And I have the most wonderful business partner. So you can do anything.
Yeah,
And you are what you believe, as you know, right?
right.
So
And it's out there for anyone. So don't get me wrong. When I say dropping out of school, I don't mean drop out of school and go never try to learn anything again.
sure.
Especially now, because now if you want to learn, you can
Everywhere.
online for free. Harvard, MIT,
Mhm.
Stanford all have all their courses, all their paperwork, all their lectures, all online for free. And there's no reason why you can't do that. And also, I went to YouTube University to learn a million different things,
Right.
if that's more your speed too. And I mean, there's just so many ways to keep learning. And I mean, yeah, I'm at like, I,
You don't have to pay 200 grand for a degree is what, yeah, I
you don't,
agree. Right.
not anymore. And I wish I would have known that. I didn't know that because it wasn't a thing back then.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but I mean, now is the thing. So now, I mean, I don't know, because yeah, I want people for sure to keep learning and keep, bettering yourself. And because yeah, once you're stagnant, I mean, what's going to go on. You can only go down from there. No one that wants to stay stagnant is going to stay. It's not going to level out. It's just going to kind of slowly go down. So, I mean, you got to keep on learning. And then any book you want to read, you can also get online
Absolutely.
for free, whether you want to, check it out at your library, which now is not having to, you don't have to know the Dewey Decimal System.
Right.
You can go and put on anywhere in your county and, get the book sent over to your library, and you pick it up and you can read that, or yeah, pretty much any books online, any textbooks online. There's no reason not to keep learning something. There's got to be something. And like I said, like I barely got a 2.0 going through middle school, high school, and college. And because I knew that was all I needed to graduate, and I didn't care. I didn't like it. But I mean, I was also, I had my own businesses then. And, but then, I get into hypnosis and I'm top of the class. You just eventually, find something that you like. And I mean, I don't know how many jobs I've had, how many jobs I've been fired from. Just, I don't know what I didn't have a job I enjoyed going to until maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, right before I moved from Oregon. I had a job that I enjoyed going to, and I had it for 4 months before I moved. And that was it. That's the only job. And that was when I was 36, something like that. And it took me that long to find something I like.
And you know what's interesting, Rusty, is, well, and again, you kind of know my background, but when you think about motivation, right? So theoretically, it's defined as active choice, persistence, and mental effort, right? So active choice, making the choice to do the thing, persistence, continuing to do the thing, and then the mental effort, right? The desire to do the thing. So where people typically fall down is persistence, right? So everybody gets excited about doing the thing, right? It's the persistence, that gap, right? And so all of us, and I think from I'm probably maybe a slightly older than you, I don't know, but we were kind of pushed in our generation to do something. And so for me growing up, it was, I had a desire to be a medical doctor. I'm a different kind of doctor, right? But, that was sort of my path. And I remember having a conversation with my mom, who was my best friend in the world. She's now passed, but saying to her when I was in college, gosh, I really just love my English literature classes, my writing classes. And she said, what are you going to do? Be a professor, right? And that ended up being what I became, right? But I was on a pre-med path, taking the rigorous courses and kind of getting mediocre grades and just not loving it, right? The persistence piece was so hard for me, but I stuck with it because of just the kind of external pressure of, this is what I should become. This is what I guess my path is, until finally my third year, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to declare English literature. That's my path, right? And so I think there was a different sort of generational pressure. I don't know, maybe not, maybe other people feel differently than me, but the way I've reared my kids is different, which is sort of hey, find the thing that you love, persist in it, right? So all of my kids sort of started college differently. They're like, hey, we're going to try this. I mean, my second kid is at Tuscaloosa, my second son. And so he started as a chemie major and he just was unhappy. And so then he switched to food and nutrition and he loves it, right? And he's, also, getting his MBA at the same time, but he just loves those classes. They just speak to him. He loves the science behind it. But starting out at chemie, he thought that's what I needed to do, right? But he just didn't love it. And now he talks to me about all these different things with like, you can't have those vitamins because they don't digest that way. And he never spoke to me that way with Kemi, right?
Right.
So you could tell the difference when someone gets excited about something, you know? And so obviously for you, hypnosis was something that struck a chord. It was something you desired. It's something you wanted to learn more about. And so it's amazing to see this generation of students and learning. There's so much more opportunity for them. And I think I mean, maybe not, but there seems to be more of a desire to push them towards something that they are going to enjoy. There's like the gig economy where they can start businesses, I think, more easily than we could maybe. You know, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Um, it's interesting. And so there's just so much that they can go towards. And like they have it all right here on
Definitely.
this device thing. And I don't know, you don't really have to, like, I feel that creativity when I was in school was very much squashed. And go to college, get, go get a corporate job,
Mm-hmm.
work that until you're 65, and then hopefully you're not dead by then. And then you can have a little bit of time to go and retire. Make sure you buy that house too. And then so once you're done paying off your college debt, maybe by then you can have, because then college debt wasn't nearly as what it is now. But yeah, it was just follow that path, especially the city I came from. And yeah, I mean, I remember talking to my high school guidance counselor and what he told me, and then what he told me what he told me when I told him what I wanted to do. And then I listened to him. For some reason, I listened to a guidance counselor, which was, I don't even know if guidance counselors are still a thing. I'm not sure. I don't know what the point of
They
that
were
guy's
a
name
huge
was.
thing for us, weren't they? I think they are
Yeah,
kind of a thing. I'm not sure either, though. I think
yeah.
they call them academic advisors.
Oh, okay. All right. That does sound right. Okay. And so that's what they became. They became academic advisors. And so,
Right.
yeah, I remember him telling me, he's like, nope, don't do that. That's a stupid idea. And then I was like, oh, okay, sure. You like go to college. And so, yeah, I went down the college path for a minute. I was miserable. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm done with this, and got a job for a little bit. And then I ended up doing what he told me was stupid. And so that was kind of nice. It was a nice, I guess it was motivation for me to do something, but just took me a while to let that one go. And there's a lot to letting go of a lot of things eventually, and
Hmm.
not carrying it around.
For sure.
Just being able to, yeah, kind of be like, okay, well, that was something, and no use. I don't know. But I mean, with so much of it, what society maybe is now, with a lot of
I love it.
being
I love the
being
freedom. I've learned
yeah,
so much even from my kids, their generation. I've learned a ton. I've learned so much. I can't express it. Just the year I had last year from my son and his roommate is just brilliant. Just the things that he says, and I'm like, that there's so much freedom in that,
yeah,
and just I learn from people every single day, and so there's just so much freedom. That's all I have to say. And so I'm
yeah,
so grateful. I feel so blessed. Like I said, I mean, all I can define it as is just freedom. And so, I love it.
yeah. The part I was talking about was having some sort of something happening and to you at some point, and then wearing it kind of as that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're that person. And because you can get the sympathy serotonin boost, I guess, for a short little while, whereas it's not improving on yourself. And that's something I don't really, I don't know. I'm not big on that, because that doesn't really instill improvement on people. And it's just like, I mean, everyone has a story, and
Mhm.
it's hard to just be like, okay, well, I mean, because I hope that these people are more than that, and that's just that
Sure.
that's all they seem to, from my perspective, that's all they seem to see themselves as. And I think
Mhm.
that's sad. I wish that if someone has something happen to them that's like that, like I don't like, I hope that they can see in themselves that they're more than that, a one event, and that, maybe, or if that event is something that can, you know, turn their life to making, it better for somebody by, you know, making whatever happened less likely to happen again to somebody else, that's great. But I mean,
So give me an
yeah.
example, Rusty. So give me an example. What are you talking about?
So let's say somebody, hmm, I mean, so, uh, let's say, okay, I mean, like, for instance, someone has a really bad experience with the police.
Mhm.
I've had some experiences with police that have been pretty gnarly. And I mean, I could just do a whole woe was me. I'm the guy who the police, thought was a terrorist and got treated like a terrorist 20 years ago. And just like, but I don't know. I don't want that to be, that's who I am. That's all I am. Like, I hope that someone, because it sucks, like, that there would be that. I mean, inward thinking is great, but to think that that is all that you become, is that
Sure.
one event, like 2 minutes of your life or however long it is, can, make you this. And then just, I don't know. I hope that for the next generation, that they can see that. I mean, that's something that did happen to them.
Mhm.
Yes, but I want them to be like, like, I'm a good person. I I make ceramic cat mugs.
Right.
I like gardening, or something
Right.
like that. Not just like, this is who I am. I'm this one event. Does that
For
make
sure.
sense? I guess.
No, it does. And I think it's up to the person to define for themselves what that experience means to them, right? So,
Right.
taking it from a personal example. So I had a very transformative year last year, but it was a sum of experiences that happened to me. And if people obviously read, my chapter and the book from Amazon, so, it was a cumulative sum of experiences. So I'm not defined by that experience. And it's a sum of experiences, right? But it depends on what I now do with them, right?
Right.
So you're in control of your own behavior. You can't control others. And then,
Right.
right? We
Try.
both know that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of hypnosis, I think, too, right? So your brain is very powerful. And I think that's kind of what we emphasized earlier too. So in just an
Right.
hour and a half, you can reprogram. So what you then do with the impact of that experience on you is up to you,
Yeah.
right? So how it lands, and then how you use it to serve others.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
for me, I'm now serving others in different ways, right?
Exactly. Which is what I think is the best outcome of
Mhm.
whatever, I don't want to, no spoilers in the chapter of the book, I guess, but I mean, that's the best thing that could happen out of that situation. You're taking a situation and now you're able to educate others and, be able to give them your experience.
Mhm.
And, even helping one person is all you really need to do. That's
Right,
it. I
right,
mean, anyone
exactly.
else is a bonus, but one person, you're good. You're
Right,
good. That's all it takes. And I mean, yeah, there's not, that's not, it's not all you are. And but you're there to help someone out. You're there to tell your story, to be able to do that. And that's part of your story.
right.
And
And
yeah,
that's really, the reason I told it, because I was showing up as two different people, and that bothered me. I mean, I was a leadership professor, economics, org change, for USC for a really long time, and my students were my lifeline. I had so much joy showing up for them all the time, and I realized that I was saying one thing to them and really coaching them afterwards on that thing. And so I thought, you know what, that's not fair to them. So I need to really come out and tell the world, this is what was happening to me when I was, going through all this stuff. Because if it could help one person cut her trauma shorter, make things better for her, then again, I will have done my job. So
absolutely.
that's why I was so raw and vulnerable in the book. And I provided coping skills, and I've got other things going on in that regard as well. But that was my message. And I'll be also publishing other things, including my full-length book. It's Free to Just Be will come out at the end of this year as well.
Excellent.
But yeah, the point is, you can't show up one way and be another way. Like, I believe 100% in authenticity. So that's the point of the book, was to say, look, here it is, here's what was going on. And so it received a really great response, from people saying, holy cow, had no idea. And I said, I know, right? And here you go. So and that's why the publishing company now, right, is to give people an opportunity to tell their story, because I believe in the power of storytelling as well. Because again, if it lands on one person, then it's worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
It's not only worthwhile for the storyteller, but the masses, right? Again, there's a huge power in storytelling.
Well,
And
and
then
then yeah,
podcasts like what you're doing, that's exactly what you're doing here, right?
right. Yeah. And then if one person gets, benefit from it, that person is going to change their existence.
Mhm.
And while let's say, just for instance, only one person gets really breakthrough. I assume the numbers aren't going to be one, but for example, one. But that person that breaks through, everyone around them is going to have a different experience with this person. Now, this person's not going to have the same whatever, trauma, I guess was the word,
Mhm.
that they had before. And so the people are their peers, their family, their friends, everyone is going to have, a kind of a better experience with
Sure.
this person. And then that's going to, pan out to other people. And just, and one thing, and I mean, and so it's another thing with any sort of trauma. So I thought that up until a few weeks ago, and from what I had experienced and kind of learned, that it gets passed down about 2 generations, genetically. Uh, but I found out I was wrong about that. And it gets stored in your RNA and it's passed down somewhere around 25 generations down. And it could be something that can be fixed again, like, hour and a half, or, maybe a few days or whatever it is, and change your whole lineage for 25 generations. I don't know how many years that is. That's probably like 500-600 years, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in there. And just from as little as an hour and a half.
So I think that's so important for you to back up and tell your listeners a little bit more about that. So if you can, and expand on that, because people may not have heard what you were talking about and understand it fully. So can you explain to them what you mean by that? Because it's so important.
Sure. So when I was seeing that, like, so if, let's say, somebody, I don't know, whatever, 1600s, gets bit by a spider, and their 4-year-old daughter sees it, and sees their parent get bitten by a spider, and then the person dies from a spider bite.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, your memory is like, your brain's always listening. It's just like, that's the crazy part. Like, it's always there. It might not come into your conscious mind, but it's in there. So, and people just don't know. And then you wonder why, this daughter's scared. Why? And then why? Then the kids pick up on that. But I thought it was like them more picking up, visually and sort of energy wise around them, but it's actually being stored in their RNA and being passed down. And then that's, and then that they don't know. And then their kid, the original person's grandkid, is afraid of spiders, and they have no clue why they're afraid of spiders. And then even, 25 generations down, they're afraid of spiders, and they have no clue why they're afraid of spiders. And it's just something that's in them. It's not their fault. They didn't have any bad experience with the spider, but this one event gets passed down that much. And it's just being able to release that, and I mean, maybe someone witnesses a murder or something, and then, they're scared of a certain look of a person, or, a certain whatever it may be, or even people. I mean, just that, like, being able to let that go, and not having that, especially when you have no clue why you're untrusting of the people around you. It's so transformative for more than just the person who's experiencing right then, or the person who initially experienced it.
And so many people experience anxiety. They don't know why, right? And that's the power of the human mind. So, and what you're talking about is so critical, right? What you just said is so remarkable. And what you said earlier, even about, right, hypnosis. Are you saying, Rusty, and I don't mean to depose you, right? Are you saying that this can be fixed through hypnosis?
That what can be fixed?
Like, so this, 25, let's say, generational trauma.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Hour and a half.
Love it.
Yeah. 2,500 years. You're changing your lineage for 500 years. And maybe it might be more. But just, and it's that learning about yourself. It's again that, I think there's so much knowledge about yourself, learning about your strengths, your weaknesses, learning how to better yourself, learning why you do the things you do.
Mhm.
The more you can know about it, the more powerful everything's going to be, and that, though, exponentially your life is going to get better. And it's it can be frightening, but and then and also I mean with the spider, back to the spider, if someone, then one of these offspring ends up seeing a spider, then their adrenaline starts kicking in, and then you're in that fight or flight mode. And I mean with some people, I mean, they've been in constant fight or flight mode 24/7 for years. And like I said, you can't take in any new information, and any decisions you make are going to be, I don't know what the percentage is, but not nearly as good as where they'd be if you're, not in that adrenaline fueled mode.
Exactly. And what we know too, exactly what you're saying is the hormone cortisol, right? We know that when you have excessive amounts of cortisol, you can't learn, right? And that's exactly what you're saying. So a little bit of stress, okay, right? It's actually a motivator. Chronic stress, horrible, right? It hurts you emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, across the board. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And that's exactly what happened to me last year, right? My transformative year. I was under immense amounts of chronic stress for years. But again, a little bit of stress actually is okay. So people really need to be able to distinguish between them. But the fight or flight, constant state, terrible for you. And people need to be able to understand that difference.
Yeah. And I mean, and then if someone else is around you and they need some sort of support, it's, you can try, but it's not going to be, nearly as good as it could be. And so, I don't know if this is getting too into your book.
Go for it.
But so, I mean, and this, it's a question, like I tried on this show to go for, because, a lot of people who have stories have a pretty set of what their story is. And, like when people ask me, I can just say, refer to this podcast, because I'll probably say the same stuff. And, but this is a question that I'm generally curious about.
Sure.
I mean, what was it the moment that you got to your breaking point? And I'm sure that's the question that you're going to get in all of them, but it's one that I'm curious about. And I mean, what was it that, or was there stuff where it's like starting to be like, well, maybe I should, and then there was that one moment where that's it, I'm done?
Fascinating question. And so I think I was looking for a reason to leave. And I know let's leave
what?
So let me explain. So the chapter that I wrote, and can I name the book? Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
So I don't know what, so I wrote a chapter in a collaborative book called Fearless Female Leaders. And so my chapter was called Reframing Despair, Going from Stuck to Unstoppable. And so it launched on Amazon on May 31st of this year. And so the date that my, I hope it's soon, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I separated was February 10th of this past year. And so we had been together for almost 25 years, and that's a really long time. So I think I was looking for a reason to leave for quite a while. And I think the way I can best describe it is like the Grand Canyon. It's a slow drip, right? I wasn't seeing any more sort of the damage that was being done. I'm very, very, very close to my 18-year-old daughter. And so she would be the one to point out things that were happening. Like I would say something. Yeah. So I would say something and he would say, "You never told me that." And then she'd pull me aside and go, "I was sitting right there when you said that." And so then different things were happening. And she literally one day pulled me aside and said, "If things don't change, I'm packing your stuff up for you and you're out." And she's like now formidable. I like owe everything to her. She and I are best friends. And so it took someone from the outside to say, "Get it together." And because I was so knee deep in it, but I have certain boundaries. And one of those boundaries was crossed on February 10th when I found out he was having an affair, like a very long one. And so that was all I needed. I'm like, I'm out. I'm absolutely out.
And like you were saying earlier, the cortisol was, pumping through your veins there. And I mean, yeah, you weren't able to take in that new information. And so having your daughter there, she's able to see it from a completely different perspective. And I mean, I can only assume, I mean, how much of that is going on. And there, a lot of people aren't as lucky as you to have someone like your daughter being there to experience that.
Rusty, there were a lot of things happening. I had a chronic undiagnosed medical condition the summer before I was diagnosed with 2 masses, for which I had to go to MD Anderson, and so there's a lot of things that I lay out in the chapter. So there were constant distractions for which he was unavailable, so a lot of things that were happening. I have 6 kids, so a lot of crises with them. So there were times, and it's hard to express to people, where I literally couldn't use my hands or my feet. I was experiencing memory loss. I was stuttering. I would ask my twin girls when they just got out of the shower, "You need to take a shower." Things were happening to me that I can't express. I was being evaluated for MS, and I would still, and again, so when I was explaining it to you, the most joy I had was showing up for my students. That's the truth. And so when I was trying to juggle all these things, juggling literally a marriage that was ending after 25 years, I didn't know what, and I can't say that I wanted to. No expletives on your show, right? It's
you can say whatever you want on this show. This is it's free form as it gets. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
My favorite line, and I was thinking about this morning, I'm like, Gwyneth Paltrow came up with the best line in the world when she said, what did she say? "We're consciously uncoupling." I'm like, who comes up with that beautiful marketing phrase? Like, I need to get with her,
Right.
Right?
That's pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to mess up her with my story. But anyway, so so just so many things were happening. It was just this constant barrage of crises. And so I'm like, when I would put down a crisis, another would show up, and then put down another one, another would show up. And I'm like, wow, And so finally, when I got it together, and I'm like, I can do this, and then I'm a researcher. So I'm like, what works, you know what I mean? And so finally, when I'm able to show up, I'm like, I can help other people. I got this, you know what I mean? And so that's what I've now dedicated my life to, because I got this, and I know how it works. But I can honestly tell people the divorce process is not a picnic. And I want to make sure that they're prepared for that piece too. Because again, separation's one thing, divorce is another. And so there's a whole process and a whole unraveling that people need to be prepared for.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. I mean, hopefully they can, get.
You're like, that was a lot.
Well, no, I mean, hopefully they can get something from what you're saying then, and be able to take that if that ends up, happening to someone's life, they're getting to,
Sure.
or it's happening at that moment. And they, but I don't know. I think that's a good thing when, something's happening like that and people turn to reading. And then, I don't know. I don't know if that's such a common trait for people though that I don't know. I think that's a bit of an escape, but at the same time, it is informative and educational. And there's always, again, we said earlier, there's always something that can be learned, and everyone can always, find ways to
Mhm.
improve themselves, improve their situation. And I mean, it sounds like you did it. And so, and showing people how to do it now. And so, where can people find you and contact you, and where can they get your book, and when can they be on the waiting list for your new book or your new publishing company, or hear you talk, or anything like that?
Great questions. So Amazon's the best place to find the current book, so Fearless Female Leaders. And so it's available on Kindle, paperback. McDermottleadership.com is the name of my company. And anytime someone wants to talk to me, the first session with me is complimentary always. If I, can find a way to help them and it makes sense, I don't accept, this sounds odd, but I don't accept all the clients because I really believe there needs to be a fit. And so if I'm not a fit for them, I will send them whatever resources I possibly can. Because again, as you know, just like I do, there has to be that connection.
Right.
So
That's side note here. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Like with hypnosis, like if I'm not a fit, don't give up on hypnosis. Find someone else. There's a lot of other people who do what I do. And I like with that, if someone's not clicking, I don't want them to have a bad experience about something that can really benefit them because they don't like me. There's a lot of people who don't like me. There's a lot of people who do like me, but find someone that's going to work with you. And I mean, yeah, if they don't, but I trust people a lot more if they say, if we don't match, then go find somebody else. As to, if you don't match with us, we're going to find a way to make it work. Like, I'm usually a little weary of that. Very weary. But yeah, so go back to what you're saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to get that across.
I love that. And so if they want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, and so that I connect with everybody. So Dr. Alexandra McDermott, and then directly is Alexandra at McDermottleadership.com. Pen Crown Publishing is the name of my new publishing company. That's not out there in the universe yet, but it will be. So once that gets launched, I'll announce it, of course, on LinkedIn and things like that. But that will be launched soon. Because again, it's something that is new with a business partner, but it's something that we're doing because we believe, just like you do, in the power of storytelling. So, and then in terms of future appearances and things like that, lots going on, and I'll announce those things when they happen. On probably my main social is LinkedIn, to be honest with you. So that's where things will be announced.
Okay. Cool. Great. Yeah, I will make sure everyone has that in the show notes as well, so I can easily get to it. And thanks for coming on. Yeah, you're welcome. Coming on, sharing your story and getting to talk. I don't know where we're gonna get to. I never do. And,
thank you.
Yeah,
it was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun for me too. And it makes it, I don't know. It's always a surprise. So it's nice being able to just get to where we get to. And I don't know. I've never had one show where I've written down one question because it would sound so horrible. It would be Chris Farley used to do a sketch on SNL where he would interview people, and I feel it would be a lot like that, and it just would sound so insincere and odd. And so just being able to just go and see where it goes. And and I'm happy you went along with it. So I hope thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and stay in touch. All right.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Right. You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, that's Dr. Alexandra McDermott. So you guys check her out, get on where she said to get on and find her. And I'll put those in the show links so you can check them out. Everybody, again, thank you so much for all your watches. Rolexes are nice. I like them when you send them to me. No, your views, your listens, subscribes, downloads, all that stuff. The numbers are getting huge and kind of fucking crazy with a couple of the shows. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone. I enjoy doing this, and I really like having people being able to come out and have their story out. If it's their story, or whether it's me shooting the shit with somebody, which I mean is kind of what the story is too. But I want people to be able to hear this, and I want people to have a voice who need a voice and a platform. Like everyone, like I said, everyone has their setup for what they say on a podcast every time or whatever, and they'll tell the same story over and over. And I've listened to podcasts where they have the people, and I follow them around. It's like listening to them. They'll tell the same story over and over and over. So that's why I have like one or two maybe, and I was just I'll refer people to that. If you want to hear about me, nothing's changed. Nothing's going to change on what I say, unless it's someone who has a very interesting method of doing their show. Then I will, but for the most part, my story is ever changing, but it's still kind of the same. So thank you everyone here for listening on the Quantum Global Broadcast Network, QGBN. And again, I'm your host, Rusty Diamond, and check out other shows on the network, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast, This Is It with Lizzie, and Saved by the Ben. The show is brought to you by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stoner Reads Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and Sock'emUp.org. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?